time, a long time, this na day before time.
Long time got them lang loji, now you got them bungalow.
Long time got them lang loji, now you got them bungalow.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this na day before time.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this na day before time.
Long time got them dirty dam, now you got them concrete road.
Long time got them dirty dam, now you got them concrete road.
Long time got them dirty dam, now you got them concrete road.
Long time got them dirty dam, now you got them concrete road.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this na day before time.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this na day before time.
Long time got them juk lamp, now you got them electric light.
Long time got them juk lamp, now you got them electric light.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this na day before time.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this na day before time.
Long time got them broad bottom, now you got them tight straight.
Long time got them broad bottom, now you got them tight straight.
Long time got them broad bottom, now you got them tight straight.
Long time got them broad bottom, now you got them tight straight.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this na day before time.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this na day before time.
Long time got them broad churia, now you got them bamboo jai.
Long time got them broad churia, now you got them bamboo jai.
Long time got them broad churia, now you got them bamboo jai.
Long time got them broad churia, now you got them bamboo jai.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this na day before time.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this na day before time.
Long time full lambok it water, now you got them overhead.
Long time full lambok it water, now you got them overhead.
Long time full lambok it water, now you got them overhead.
Long time full lambok it water, now you got them overhead.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this na day
Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Benskop, the on the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and on the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Ben stop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Ben stop, straight up from the root. Mark Ben stop. With another one, with another
one. Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton North.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata Francis C. Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cup, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data. Data is not the only one, you know. They got lots of datas out there. Datas, like anti-datas. Lots of datas and lots of uncles, like anti-datas, who are not going to be voting for the PPP next elections. The PPP is history. We already know that. But we just got to make it official. It's got to be sealed. It cannot be sealed just so dry. Don't be fooled, guys. It cannot be sealed just so dry. And you can claim to have all the logics in the world and have all the answers in the world for every single thing, or a plaster for every soul. It is not going to work in modern day politics. Who the cap fit wears it. My name is Mark Benchap, and welcome to Straight Up. It's 10 minutes after 9 o'clock. Let's rock and roll for this evening. Let me see what I have for you. Whatever you guys want to talk about. I rushed in late. As you know, there was this earthquake. I don't know what some of you guys did. Those of you who cussing out people and don't believe in democracy. Some of y'all right there in the comment section. Y'all don't believe in democracy. But y'all want to go in the trench and y'all want to cuss out and y'all want this and who must this. Well, sorry. I'm now starting the show. I should be a better person than that, right? Because I understand democracy. I believe democracy. I believe in democracy. And democracy for me is just allowing the other person a choice. That's democracy for me. And if we're going to beat these corrupt PPP folks, then it calls for sensible thinking, sensible political thinking, not scampishness. It's not going to work. Scampish political agenda will always backfire. And some of you who believe that it works, temporarily, it may appear that it works, but in the long run, in the long haul, it doesn't work. Pull back, sit back, and try to assess the situation before you run into a serious traffic jam, a serious political traffic jam. Guyana is currently in the intensive care unit. It needs a proper team of doctors. And when I say doctors, I don't mean PhD or whatever. I mean political doctors, so to speak, political scientists. And those who claim to know it all. They know this, they know that, they know this, they know. Sometimes it sounds like I'm talking to myself too, but no, I'm not talking. They know this, they know that, they know a little bit of this, they know. And in the long run, it's just not working, guys. And to send your people out there to cuss out and go on, it's not going to work. because cost get cost back. If you jump in the trench, there are people who are willing and ready to go in the trench too. But is that the solution? Do you guys think that is the solution? Who could cost more? Who could jump in the trench more? Who could do this more? Y'all carry on. But this is one platform, y'all ain't coming in and jumping in no trench and cuss out nobody. It's going to be clean. It's going to be decent. Take the cussing out. Take all sorts of derogatory remarks and insults to individuals, especially who have put in their works, their political works in Guyana. There's no one man right now in the opposition who can claim something to the throne and say that they are better than anybody and they have been there longer than anybody. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. What's happening, guys? Waveney Moore. This Waveney Moore start right off the bat. Insults upon insults on me. This is what Waveney Moore is saying. She heard that I ran under the bed with Emma and all kind of thing. All kind of thing I ran in because of an earthquake. Okay, all right. If you say that, Waveney. Good night to Waveney. How are you doing? Those of you who experienced the earthquake out in the eastern part of the U.S., New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, and other areas, I'm glad that we're still around because I felt it. And, you know, they get old people say, you don't laugh, you know, you don't laugh. You don't laugh at a situation. You don't laugh. All of y'all in Guyana, all of y'all Guyanese, I'm talking to y'all right now. All of y'all, I sat down right here and watched people like Brennan Thompson, Debbie Headley, Golly God, Gloria Pod, and so forth, and Orrin Baker and Hollis Dinty. All of them, and they laugh in Charmin Blackman's song. I don't know how many of you know Charmin Blackman's song, Tremor? The Tremor? The Tremor? The Tremor? The Tremor, right? Yeah, I noticed some people are so fixated, one track, fixated. But look, this program is not going to be distracted. This program is not going to be distracted by people who do not believe in democracy. And trust me, it's not. But back to Charmin Blackman and that song, The Tremor. We're joined by Wayne Caesar, who's with us. Good night, Wayne. How are you?
Good evening, Mark, and good evening to all our listeners and viewers. Well, outside of getting a little eye turn and headache from the shaking and thing today, I mean, I'm doing fine. Today was a pretty eventful day.
Yeah, eventful indeed. And I don't know if you know Charmin Blackman's song, The Earth Tremor.
I don't know it.
Charmin Blackman. Yeah. So how was the earthquake like? Did you guys feel it out where you are?
Hey, well, Mark, remember the epicenter of this earthquake was in New Jersey. So I definitely really felt it, man. I've never felt it like that before, man. I know I have experienced a few of the, tremors before, but this one, man, this one was serious. You could not miss but feel it. This one was serious. And, I plan not to go to work next week, man, because I got to make sure that building that I work in is stable. I already don't like heights. So I think next week is an off week.
Country was in a dilemma. People running helter-skelter. Some people falling for murder. The earth tremor. John started easy pressure. John started saying they sugar. Paul said he had too much liquor. The earth tremor. See me shaking. Baby, rumble, see me tumbling.
see, that is why you don't love people's song. Charmin Blackman was giving you guys this message all along. The earth tremor. The earth tremor. Thank you so much, Charmin Blackman. This is the song that should be playing all across Western Union and MoneyGram. Uh, sorry, well, you know, there is an excuse for people not to get their MoneyGram on their Western Union today, Friday, in Guyana because of the earth tremor. Charmin Blackman and the earth tremor. But we have had that experience in our house as well, and all of us had to tuck away in our tiny basement and hide because we all live in a basement. I don't know if you live in a basement. I know Sandra Price lives in a basement. Brennan Thompson lives in an attic. Lester Tom, I don't know where Lester Tom lives. Debbie Headley lives in a basement. We all live in a basement, man. So at least we were safe. And I'm glad. I think it was about 4.5, 4.7. On a serious note, I'm glad that all of you guys are safe, all of our listeners. And we are thankful for life. We're thankful that it wasn't bad at all. It was just, to me, I view that as an eye opener, as a wake up call, because next year, maybe in a month's time, maybe 5 years from now, we don't know what else can happen because it can move from a 4.7 to maybe a 6 point something. It can be dangerous next time around. It's just an eye opener, a wake up call for all of us. So get your act together. I immediately call for forgiveness. If there's any one of you out there that I've done any wrong to, please forgive me because we came this close to losing life today. This close. Those of you who have done me wrong, I hope you find the time to apologize. And if you owe us in the accounts department to settle your bill before the next earthquake. Let's head to Guyana. There's a big political earthquake there in Guyana. Peggy Elias, how are you doing, my friend? There's a big political earthquake in Guyana, and it's shaking the country. It's tearing the country apart. What's going on with the blackout, Mr. Caesar?
Well, Mark, what's going on with the blackout? It's typical when the PPPC is in power. We see lack of proper services to the normal everyday Guyanese. The blackouts have gotten, horrible. I mean, it's despicable after watching them order a whole lot of used generators from Honduras of all countries. I mean, we're an oil producing nation. Why are we always settling for people's left, like they used to call it back in the days? Why can't we get some new equipment? We just seem to, with the same thing with the airplanes that just come in. It's just left, and we just mismanaging, Mark, the country's monies. Because, listen, we know that there's an issue with power in Guyana. And that has been some time now. It's been years, the same thing, blackout all the time. And the government has not made any giant steps to temper the situation. But we continue to put up what we would call in Guyana to be skyscrapers, and we continue to build out, right? But we don't seem to be able to power all these large buildings that are going up, and much less the normal households of normal Guyanese. So this government, Mark, they tend to do a lot of things backwards. Now, you got this massive budget that you just did, man. You should have done something when it comes to, electricity. You should have done something. Nothing was done there. The government is lawless, Mark. It's like they don't care about the Guyanese people. Okay, you had blackouts, so. And that's because also, Mark, the people of Guyana, they just accept whatever is given to them. And they keep paying their taxes. They are paying their taxes. I feel like if the people need to get out in front of GPL and shut that thing down, It wouldn't hurt you because you already ain't getting any light anyway. It wouldn't hurt, Mark. And this blackout on and off, Mark, is harming people's refrigerators and the other electronic equipment.
It,
You know,
it's
they're
it's
not
it's
thinking about that.
damaging. It's damaging, Mr. Caesar, a heck of a lot of things. And the
Food
issue is
amongst
not
other things.
the issue is not just the blackout. It's bad management. It's putting a bunch of kleptomaniacs, it's putting a bunch of corrupt individuals to run a system and expect it to work. It is not going to work. Just like you have a bunch of corrupt individuals running that installed government in Guyana, and people expect it to work. It is not going to work. So when you see and hear of corruption, you got to understand where it's coming from. Because if you have a bunch of corrupt Pakus who are the top echelons of the PPP regime, what else do you expect? You have people like Jack Dave, people like Irfan Ali, 19 fraud charges, blocked from entering Canada, cannot show the evidence of the university that he attended in IFLAT. Where else in the world these things can happen? You have a bunch of vagabonds who are running the country. And when you have vagabonds, when you have crooks, when you have thieves, when you have those scamps running the country, you can't expect anything better. You can't expect to get proper planes. You can't expect a good return for your tax-paying dollars. And then they're trying to justify the 23 point something million US dollars that they borrowed, and then they got to pay interest. And then they're trying to hoodwink the nation by saying the Indian company is going to be repairing the planes. But they didn't say for what specific period of time. Every single thing is corruption upon corruption upon corruption in that country. And some people have been saying it looks as though God has turned his back on the nation. I don't think God has turned his back on the nation. I think the nation sits down, and as you have said, Mr. Caesar, and they allow these things to happen to them without saying a word. A lot of them are going to come on Facebook and they're going to fight and they're going to cuss up and they're going to go on and all manner of things, and they know this and they know that. But let us call a protest tomorrow in Georgetown to call on the people to go out in front GPL and call for a change of management and call for a better service coming from that entity. How many persons you think are going to go out? Rhonda Lane is going to be the first one out there, and maybe 2 or 3 other persons. Outside of that, nobody's going to go. And when you talk about that, they get vexed. You won't even see the leadership of the opposition, the combined leadership of what is left of the opposition out there standing up for people's rights. It doesn't happen. And then you expect change to happen just like that? You expect GPL to get better just like that? When all we're doing, people, even some folks on this in the comment section, I'm not knocking at you guys, but what I've seen all week, all month, all year is blackout and we skites again. Blackout and we skites again. But you call on them to go out, those who are affected by the blackout, to go out and protest and stop this thing once and for all. They're not going to do it. Who in Guyana is going to do it? Who in the leadership level in the opposition that's going to do it? Or civil society? No one.
But Mark, you know, with a situation like this currently in Guyana, if a set of people decide that they're going to start bringing in their generators, right? They're gonna charge them massive duties on those generators. If people decide that, hey, we're gonna purchase solar panels and ship into Guyana, again, they're gonna charge them massive amounts in duties to bring these things into the country. So it's like, you know, it's a no-win situation. And the PPPC have the people, you know, between a rock and a hard place. And that is not fair. That is not right. Irfan Ali does not experience blackouts Those ambassadors that sit at the US embassy amongst other embassies, they don't experience blackouts, Mark, like
But
the people in
we
Guyana
can't,
do,
Mr. Caesar,
you know? And that's
Mr.
what
Caesar,
upset me. These people should not, these people
Mr.
should not have a platform
Mr.
to speak on
Gentleman,
behalf of Guyanese because they don't
Mr.
experience what the everyday man
One
experiences.
second, 1 second. We got to stop this whole notion that every single thing, the ambassadors and the ambassadors and the ambassadors. The ambassadors are not there to look after Guyanese interest. The ambassadors are not there to stand up and fight for Guyanese so that they can get proper electricity. That's not the job of the ambassadors
Mark,
or the high commissioners. 1 second, sir, Mr. Gentleman. 1 second. That's not the job. We have to turn to those who are our elected and selected officials. Those are the people who are there to stand up and protect the Guyanese interest. Not the U.S. ambassador, not the Canadian High Commissioner. No. But are we seeing those who are elected or have been elected? Do we see them out there standing up? Do we see them? Is any one of them picking up a placard and say, well, hey, I'm going in front GPL tomorrow to protest this whole thing. It has got to stop once and for all. But no, it doesn't happen. All we get is a bunch of talkers, mouth-organs. They blow some trumpets at press conferences and whatever. They issue some release. It shows up in the letter column of maybe the Village Voice and some other legitimate news sites. And that's it. They put on tool and they're gone. Nobody is going to protest. They find excuses upon excuses why they're not going to go and protest. That if we go and protest, the PPP gonna do this or Jack, they're gonna do that. That's all. Excuses upon excuses upon excuses, and no goddamn one is ready to bell the cat. Not a single one of them. And therefore, this corrupt regime will continue to do what they're doing. Steal from the nation, incompetence at every level, and nothing is happening. Absolutely nothing. Before I get back to you, let's get to this point. Cyclone Earl is saying Glenn Lal was telling them tonight that when Granger government was in office, there was no blackout. Glenn said they throw out the people and put in their own people and still can't get it done. Of course they can't get it done. And of course Glenn Lal is right. But do we need Glenn Lal to tell us that? The facts are there. I'm glad that Glenn has said it. And while we're at Glenn, let me extend condolences on the passing of his sister. Condolences to you, Glenn. But this is what everybody knows. That when the coalition was in office, you asked people, those who live in Georgetown, they hardly had blackout because you had a real government in place. And when you have real governments in place, you can expect real democracy for the most part. And what real governments do is look after the interest of the people. What convicts like what we see these chaps in office right now do is look after the interest of themselves, look after the interest of some of their family members and friends. That is all they do, nothing else. But all we do, all our folks do in the opposition is talk, and fight who got to get this position, who got to be the presidential candidate, who got this, who got that, and nobody. And let's face reality. Some of y'all gonna get vexed out there. Nobody's showing the courage to stand up. Forget about the talk all the time at press conferences and little press release. That's not going to do the trick, guys. It's not working. Some of you may think it's working. Some of you might be misled to think that, the opposition and people are flocking around. And it is not working, guys. It's got to work. It's just got to work. It's not. Mr. Caesar.
Yeah, Mark, I am actually going to get back to those ambassadors later, but I do have a riff there, but I'm going to pick that up later. But I'm going to
No,
touch
no,
on the
you're not
opposition.
going to get back to the ambassadors later. We're going to fight this out now. Fight
Okay,
it now.
okay.
Let me hear you.
So, all right. So Mark, here is my position: is that these people, from time to time, they find it convenient to come out and speak on behalf of the Guyanese people. And when they speak on behalf of the Guyanese people, they are always biased in favor of the PPPC as if they are blind. Okay? We can see what is happening to the Guyanese people. I know that the ambassadors and the high commissioners are there in Guyana to represent the interests of their countries. If it is that they're there for and that only, then they ought to stay in their lanes. That's what I am saying. Okay, Guyana is a sovereign nation, and no ambassador's voice should be the most powerful voice in Guyana. Period. Okay.
Again, Mr. Caesar, we cannot blame the ambassadors and the high
No, Mark,
commissioners.
I'm not Mark.
The
I am not.
reason why we cannot blame them, when you have PACUs in government, people are going to take advantage of that situation. And what we have now is a bunch of PACUs. Irfan Ali is a PACU. Jack Dale is a PACU. Mark Phillips is a PACU. You have the likes of a Kwame McCoy and them in government. We can't blame these ambassadors. If you had a strong government with competent people, patriotic people, no ambassador can go in a country and do as they like. But look at what we have right now, a bunch of PACUs. So I don't blame the ambassadors them. And of course, we can't sit down and expect the ambassadors them to speak out in the interest of Guyanese and talk about human rights. Of course, they will make their reports. You can't blame the ambassadors them when they don't do that. When in fact, when we look around, the elected officials of Guyana don't do it. The politicians don't do it. They don't go out. They don't protest. I'm not saying they should just protest. But when people like Rhonda Lane bust up their slippers, Rhonda Lane too, get jigger in it, and I'm not saying that it has jigger, but I'm saying that people like Rhonda Lane, they go out there, they burn up their feet, they're thirsty, they're standing up for people's rights, and people who are elected aren't doing it. But instead of doing it, they're finding excuses upon excuses. And they go and sit at their press conferences with so-called fancy talks, and they know it all. And let me just say, Rhonda, I don't mean that you have jigger, my friend. I mean that you have courage. You have the guts to stand up and do what most of our elected officials in the opposition do not do. Mr. Caesar.
Mark, if you could recall at the 2020 elections, when Barry Jagdeo would have said that if the PPPC does not take their position as the government in Guyana, the country is going to be ungovernable. Mark, you know what? I am tired of seeing my brothers and sisters being bullied into submission. I am tired of it, and I'm going to speak to it. When you have people like Ralph Gonzalez and Maya Motley and all these people running into Guyana, along with those same ambassadors, the ABC countries, and all of these people running into Guyana and installing a government, literally overwhelming the people of the country and installing a regime, okay, that turns around, Mark. Have our police force executing our people and treating them badly with disrespect. You understand me? And an administration that shows racial tendencies. Okay, there's no proper distribution of wealth across the country. All right, the services to citizens are totally ignored. It has become a transactional regime, a total mismanagement of the oil resources amongst other resources in the country. This cannot work. In 2025, the Guyanese people need to make a stand. They need to make sure that there's nobody interfering with their elections. They need to make sure that the GCOM apparatus is working correctly and let this thing be done right. For once and for all, let's get a clear and fair winner come election time 2025. Mark, this is ridiculous. It needs to stop. Okay,
Yeah,
this is a one-way. This is a one-way government, Mark. It's a one-way. It's a a one-way street. It goes in one direction.
Mr. Caesar, we understand all of that. It's something that has been said, so many times, over and over again. We know what the problems are. But who is belling the cat? Who is going out there to confront the issues? We know what the problems are at GCOM. Are we seeing our elected officials who ought to be standing up for our interests doing that? No. But instead, they're finding excuses upon excuses as to why it should not be done. And therein lies the problem. Because if you have your own who can attempt to confront the situation in order to fix the problems, well, we can't expect outsiders to fix the problems for us. It is just not going to happen. And then when you have the likes of a Rhonda Lane and a few others who are going out there every day in the sun, and when you look around, it's just Rhonda Lane and a couple of other folks. Just Rhonda Lane and a couple of other folks. That's it. When you call a protest over here, just a few turn up. Nobody wants to bell the cat, but everybody wants to talk. Everybody wants to talk. Everybody has a solution to the problem. Everyone has an excuse as to why it should not be done. I bet if you call a protest Monday, see how many of them are going to turn out. I'll be back.
My brothers and sisters, tonight, my point that I'm trying to make is that we need free and fair elections in Guyana. We don't need corrupt elections. I have not seen the GCOM chairman in over a year. And Barra Jagdeo has been the person who have been pronouncing when it comes to GCOM issues. Look who is pronouncing on GCOM. A rat like Barra Jagdeo. That Mark, it's not fair to the Guyanese people. You know, they're gonna get up in 2025, they're gonna go out there, okay, and they're gonna do the democratic thing, and they're gonna vote. Their vote needs to count. Our joint services votes need to be counted. In 2020, they were not.
But you know what, Wayne? You know what? Jack Deere can talk all he wants to talk. That is because there isn't anyone to counter Jack Deere and his trash. When they were in the opposition, every single day almost, there were 3 PPP commissioners. Bibi Shadiq, who is now dead, Robeson Ben, and Says Gunraj. They were finding issues every day. And they were calling press conferences upon press conferences to give ball by ball commentary as to what was happening in GCOM. Are we seeing that with those 3 opposition commissioners who were there? The answer is no. And we got to start calling and talking reality. We got to say a spade as it is. They're not doing enough in confronting and bringing the issues out so that the people can know what is happening in GCOM. And you have said it on a few occasions. We haven't heard from GCOM chairperson for a while. It's as though they tight Claudette Singh up, put some scotch tape on her mouth, and she can't speak. Now, I noticed a comment from a Brenda Casey. And Brenda Casey is telling me, of all person, that I don't turn up. So if they have a couple of protests and I don't turn up, and there are new people who are now turning up, who were absent from the scene of Guyana politics, but are new to turning up now, well, I'm glad that they're turning up. I'm glad that they're turning up. But Brenda, don't go that route to tell me that I don't turn up. Don't go that route. You don't know my history in turning up and belling the cat. You don't know my history when it comes to real protesting and being there in Guyana on the ground every single day, protesting Even when I'm locked up, as soon as I'm out of the lockup, I'm back on the road protesting every single day. So please don't go that route to tell me, of all person, that I don't turn up. But I'm glad a few of you are now turning out. Anyways, some people feel that they can just throw, oh, you don't turn up. Yeah, but I broadcast it live. I ensure that it is done. And that is part of turning up as well. Those people in Guyana have to turn up. Don't tell me it was years ago, Brenda. Don't tell me about that. Let's go that route. If you want to turn up, you take a plane ticket and go in Guyana and you bell the cat. So don't come here and try to tell me that I don't turn up and you don't turn up, Mark. And all because a couple of y'all went at a couple of protests. When we were protesting in New York, in front of the United Nations, in front of the consulate, in front of the State Department and all these places. Come on, give me a break, man. Give me a break. But people just don't turn out at all. You spoke earlier about the plane. $23 million to 2 Brocatoka plane. As this guy, and this guy is very funny. At least he's brave enough to voice his opinion. Listen to him, Wade.
Hello, Mr. President. Oh, you feel like for buy them the model plane, man? You see people buy them things. Them things already, man. Transport food and passenger around Guyana. Lord. Me had a shame bad for buy something like that. Them model thing I'm buying from India. Lord. Best you been buy 4 or 5 Apache helicopters with no we could see weapons strap them out. Them thing that you buy, man. Lord, I ain't got shame in your face, man. Right, was a politician don't got shame, though, no? Or they don't care. They just do what you know what they feel like. But watch them playing. Watch how them thing look. Them thing, Me with design, me long, me not see a country with design.
Okay, so, Mr. Caesar, the plane, not just the plane, the conditions of the plane and so forth and so we already know there's a middleman involved. We already know there's corruption and there are kickbacks. Now, you have a country that is rich in natural resources, but billions of dollars in oil wealth, and you're going to India, Exim Bank, to borrow $23 million to purchase 2 Brocatoka, as we would say, Brocatoka planes. You're borrowing. Every time these vagabonds leave the country, it is to borrow money or beg for money, borrow money or beg for money. What is your take on that sort of backward economics?
Well, Mark, first of all, they would have spent 23 million US. Okay, that's 23 million US. So why could you have not spent 23 million US and probably you would have ended up maybe with 1 plane, maybe you would have spent a little bit more and maybe get another plane depending on the year that the craft would have been built. But we know, that US warplanes would be much more durable than a warplane that is coming out of India. That is fact, Mark. That is flat out fact. So, like you would have said, Mr. Benchcop, there is a middleman involved here. And that is the thing. You see, that's the problem that we're experiencing in Guyana with the mismanagement of the people's money. They are making these deals. And as you say, every time they fly out of the countries, either a hotel deal is being made, but some type of a deal is being made. It is not right. It is not fair to the people to bring in these old aircrafts that's going to require so much maintenance, and then you have to pay again for the maintenance. There's nothing that would have said that the maintenance is absolutely free. And when the PPP tells you that something is free, you have to see to believe. You cannot believe the words that are uttered from the PPPC. So, Mark, this is a very, very bad deal. Again, another case of mismanagement. And that is what that's what we've come to, accustomed seeing from the PPPC.
This is not the actual aircraft. In fact, the 2 that they have in Guyana, they're worse looking than these. And they are going to break up. I hope there's no accident, but they will break up. It doesn't worth it doesn't worth anything. But to come to say to the Guyanese people that 23 million US dollars for two of those planes, come on, I don't know. And then the same set of people rob the entire nation with Sputnik vaccine, give them fake Sputnik vaccine. You know how many people died as a result of that? But yet there was no investigations, nothing at all. And these corrupt people in the PPP regime believe that Guyanese should just shut them out. Don't say anything other than some just come on Facebook and just chit chat, or some just suddenly believe in Guyana.
Mark,
Guyana. But when you look at these things, Wayne, I looked at a video. I don't know if some of our listeners saw a video of some folks in St. Lucia. St. Lucia. I don't know. Did you see that video, Mr. Caesar? St. Lucia?
No, I didn't, Mark.
You got to see those videos. You got to be like Gavin. I'm sure if I ask Gavin, did you see that video out in St. Lucia? Anyone knows what I'm talking about? Jesse, Nikki, of course, she knows. Anyone else knows about that video that I'm talking about in St. Lucia? Let me see if anybody knows what I'm talking about. That video in St. Lucia. Victor Ben said yes. Garfield says yes. Maureen Scott say yes. Shalita Bristol Mentor says yes. Oswald Prophet says yes. You guys, absolutely correct. Beatrice Vogelson, Sherrod Main Squeeze. These people get some names. Good night, Sherrod Main Squeeze. So a lot of you guys saw the video. The video basically, Mr. Caesar, is they have some Caucasians touched down on a part in St. Lucia. And they get this beach, right, Rajan Bim? They get this beach. And they don't want the locals to go and bathe in the beach, mainly black folks in St. Lucia, because maybe they feel that the black people or the local folks in St. Lucia will contaminate the water. They will go and weave in the water. They'll go and swim and whatever in the water. And they want this part of the beach to be just for themselves, Caucasian. You know what the people in St. Lucia did? All of them, hundreds upon hundreds of them, rushed to the beach and shut the beach down, and they start singing this Bajan song. I think it was it might be Gabi or Red Plastic Bag or one of them, and say something about Jack don't want this beach, but this beach belongs to we. Kudos to the St. Lucians for doing that. Kudos to the St. Lucians. You think Guyanese gonna go by GPL and call for better treatment in their hundreds or in their thousands? You think Guyanese gonna go wrong by Qatari Hotel and shut it down and say that land belongs to us, the people of Georgetown? You think they're going to do that? They're not going to do it. What Burma boy or some Burma Boomer boy or something like that going Guyana? If he goes there, you're going to see how many of them going to rush. They get some guy named Crick Cross, some Cricks Cross, some Cross, or some Ross, going to Guyana, to Linden. All of the problems Lindeners are going through, Itunians, people from Itunia, I made it up, Itunians or Kokwanians are going through. You think they are going to put on tools and say enough is enough and go out in their hundreds and call for betterment? They're not going to do it. But you're going to see the hundreds. They're going to rush out to the shows. They're going to go to Crick Cross show or Ross Crick or whoever Crick. And they're going to go to Burma Boy show in the hundreds or in the thousands, as though there's no problem at all. And then they're going to go back into their communities. They're going to go back into Linden, Mitatida. They're going to go back into Linden. Sorry, I'm sounding there like Dennis Atwell. Mitatida. They're going to go back into Linden. And when they go back into Linden, guess what? The school that they got there in the community for over 2+ years now, over 2 years now, cannot be completed, and hundreds of millions of taxpayers' money. You think any Lindoner gonna go and surround this school and protest and call for betterment? No, 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 no. They're not going to do that at all, unfortunately. Why, Mr. Caesar? Why?
Well, Mark, in order for people to protest, someone has to lead the protest. The people have to be empowered, they have to be galvanized, okay? And there must be a vision as to why they're protesting and what they're protesting for. And yes, it will require some level of political, participation. There must be some level of political participation. So right now, I feel like if the people are just not empowered, you look at the opposition, there's an internal earthquake that is happening right now in the opposition. We need that earthquake to become an external earthquake, not an internal earthquake. We've been dealing with the internal, for such a long period of time. It's time we see the guys go out there and let their presence be felt. Starting with the leader right down. No one should be exempt here. These are the people, okay, who was put in place to represent the people of Guyana. It's not about Wayne Caesar or Mark Benchcop going out there and leading the protest. No. This is about the leaders who are put in place that are seeing that wrong is being done to the people and is addressing it with peaceful protest to the extent that it can stay that way. Because if I'm protesting peacefully and and the police comes in and is annoying people, then hey, whatever happens.
Protest, Mr. Caesar, is protest.
Yes, agree.
No such thing. You jump on holler about peaceful Of course, you want peace.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to destroy a country. Nobody wants to beat up anybody in any protest or harm anybody. A protest is a protest.
Mark,
you know what is interesting though? Go ahead, sir.
You just said that nobody wants to destroy a country. Parajagdio said that Guyana would be ungovernable if the PPP does not sit there in government.
Yeah.
What did he mean at that point?
People like to say, oh, it's going to be a nice and peaceful protest is a protest. These guys in the PPP don't care what kind of protest. They could burn up road. They could do all manner of things. That's what they do in the PPP. But this person, Claude Gray, and this is the sort of excuses they always try to when they put a plaster on a big sore. Claude Gray is saying protests have different forms. I agree with that. But this is what Claude is also saying, time to try other approaches. You see, that is a lame excuse. Other approaches aren't working. Claude says now, he goes on to say, or she or he, I don't know, there's no picture. Sorry, Claude. Boots on the ground, mass protest is not in the best interest of the U.S. and others. See, there we go again. So because mass protest is not in the interest of the U.S. and others, people in Guyana must put their hands up and say, okay, we're going to sit back and allow the corrupt PPP regime to do all that is being done. Now, this is what I consider brainwashing the masses in Guyana, to make them believe that things are happening when majority of the people on the ground aren't seeing these things happening. People are complaining. Every single day, people are complaining. They want to see action. They want to see an action-oriented opposition. Are they seeing that? The answer is no. Let's be straight. So Claude Gray is saying things are working in favor of the opposition. What things? I don't know if Claude Gray is in Guyana, whether he's in Manchester, whether he's Alnis, wherever he is or she is. I don't know. What things are working? People are fed up. People are frustrated. People believe that they're not getting the proper representation that they ought to be getting. And that is a fact. Let's not run away with that. And people, who are in positions need to get their act together.
Mark,
Mr.
I
Caesar,
want to
go ahead.
say one thing to what Claude would have just said there, and I would like him to post to this. Where it is that the opposition is going out into the external world and establishing relationships and building relationship, because this whole thing of sitting in government in Guyana, you got to be able to make deals. The PPPC is sitting in government in Guyana because of a deal. Okay? You're not going to blind me with that. They're sitting there because a deal was made. Period. I have no doubt about it. Okay? So I agree with Claude to a point, but the opposition needs to, first of all, clean up their house, because you can't go out of your house if it's not clean. Okay? They need to clean up their house, and then they need to get out and execute nationally and internationally. I know international is going to be tough, Mark, because remember, the opposition in this big oil booming economy in Guyana would have experienced a cut, okay, in what is given to them, right? They would have experienced a budget cut. If the PPPC really wanted to be challenged, Mark, they would have increased the budget for the opposition so that they can do so. Okay, the installed government that sits in place, Mark, it's a dictatorship. And listen, there are certain external forces in Guyana that refuses to call it a dictatorship. Why? Because it's convenient to them. They are benefiting tremendously. Their profit margins are through the roof. So they don't give a hell about the local born and bred Guyanese.
Point said. Point well said. Thank you, Mr. Caesar. An interesting comment from Morna Grand Morna. Morna Grand Morna. Morna Grand Morna is saying here, Guyanese should engage in economic boycotts of private enterprise and have a mass 2 to 3 days sick out. All sorts of things. I agree with you, Morna Grand Morna. I agree with you. But they aren't doing these sort of things. They're not motivated to do these sort of things. This is not like back in the days when thousands of people hit the streets and so forth. Well, we're talking about Desmond Hoyt time. To some extent that decreased under Corbyn, and it just went dead. There were massive protests. Well, not massive. There were just a couple of us, 2 of us, or 3 of us protesting every single day for years in Guyana. Years, just 3 of us. You look around, maybe 3 or 4 of us. Lincoln Lewis, Freddie Kissoon, Norris Witter, of course myself, and then periodically you had some others. I recall Dennis Atwell and others out in front of the Venezuelan embassy. There were Commissioner Nicole Cole, and there were few people. I'm talking about on a daily basis, that is. Nobody wants to come out. Back in those days, nobody wanted to come out. People were laughing at us. I recall in the lockups, out the lockups, back in the courtroom, back in the streets, back in the lockups, in the courtroom, back in the lockups, back on the streets. That's how I spent my years. In the lockups, back out of the lockups, back in the streets, protesting. It doesn't matter. I'm there protesting. We're not seeing these things any longer. I mean, it is of no value for a lot of people, and then they expect change. Look at that new president in Senegal. Have you been following that youngster?
No, Mark, I didn't.
Okay. So that youngster there stood up against an establishment. He went to prison, came out, spent a few months, of course. He's a tax collector, but he was a youngster. He didn't just hop on the political stage just like that. He belled the cat. He belled the cat. And today, he is the youngest president of Senegal at the age of 44. 44 with 2 wives. 44. The point that I'm making, you can't sit back as politicians and expect sweet deals to come to you. You got to go out and fight for these sweet deals. You got to confront it, even if you got to tech lock up, even if you got to be beaten with baton. It comes with the political territory, even if you got to take pellet bullets. Even if you got to spend a couple days in Brickdam, in Pleasance, Sparnam Police Station, Port Troy, it doesn't matter. It comes with the territory. Being brave enough to stand up for the people that you represent. That is what it's all about. Look at Obama. When Obama jumped on the scene, Obama wasn't no fresh chicken, so to speak, that just popped out of nowhere. He was working. He was doing serious political groundwork in Chicago. But again, this is a special word for those who are in the opposition. You've got to do more. All the nonsense that's going on at GCOM, and there's no fight. A letter from Vincent Alexander to the press is not sufficient. It is nowhere close to being sufficient. And we cannot sit back and accept these sort of things. And then when we talk about it, some people are going to be vexed. Yes, we appreciate that Mr. Vincent Alexander has taken the time to write a letter to the press. But writing a letter to the press about questionable acts at GCOM is not sufficient, my friends. And anyone who believes that that is sufficient, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I just don't know. And Janet Elias is right. I once told the people at Georgetown, put me in as the mayor. They run the thing, they cuss me out, all manner of things. I ain't pack up and I ain't run away. But today, the PPP running into the same Sophia, sending in all sorts of their gangsters in Sophia and lying to the people of Sophia that they're going to make lives better for them in Sophia. When in fact, for 23 plus years, I was there. You know what they used to call the roads of Sophia, Mr. Caesar? They used to call the roads abortion streets and all these sort of things. If a young man doesn't have money to take, forget, I'm not promoting abortions or whatever, please don't get me wrong. I'm not making a mockery, but that was the talk. You just take your girl in a minibus, drive down some street in Sophia, and bratak, the minibus, bratak, and that's it, it's done. The PPP never care about the people in Sophia. They never care about people in the country. But we saw improvements. More could have been done under the coalition government, yeah. But people, do not allow yourselves to be used or brainwashed by the PPP regime. Do not. We need to do more. They need to do. Look, John, you see, this is what John C. Paul. John, this is the nonsense. And with all due respect, John, this is the nonsense. There is nothing else that Vincent can do at GCOM. Fair enough, you may have a point. But constant banging. John C. Paul, you know what constant banging does? You know what those opposition MPs, the PPP opposition commissioners at GCOM, you know what they were doing when they were in the opposition? Every day, Mr. Caesar, they were constantly banging and banging and banging and banging. They were finding something to talk about. They were calling press conferences. They utilized their radio station and Freedom House called Freedom Radio. All these sort of things they were doing. They were constantly banging and banging and banging. Our people are not banging. Our people occasionally pen a letter and we put our hands up and we say, there's nothing more that we can do. John, I'm surprised at you, man. You're supposed to be a fighter, my brother. I'm surprised at you. Yes, more can be done. Yes, they can constantly bang and expose what's happening at GCOM. But are we seeing that? No, we're not. Some of you might get upset with me tonight, but it's okay. I'm accustomed to people getting upset, abusing and all kind of things. Some of them don't even know what they're abusing about. They just abuse and they run and get away and hide. I must have gone in a car and cry now. Mr. Caesar,
You know,
let
Mark,
me just allow you to speak and I'll go drink some water. I'll be right back. You go ahead. You talk.
yeah. You know, just now Mark would have talked about banging and banging and banging. And I agree with him. I feel like the opposition, they are so professional in everything that, they do. But what they have to remember is that the PPPC is not a professional entity. Okay? And in order to move the PPPC in any way or form, one must get aggressive. You must be willing to go down in the trenches with them, because you guys see Barajagyo calling the Honorable Catherine Hughes a low life, among other things. You know, that's how they play. Okay, and in order to deal on that level, you have to play the same way.
Right across Ghana, when the ministers of Granger or Nagamutu come here after the 21st of March, you say to them, walk behind them, chase them out, they're going to be illegal. Say to them, you're illegal. Free up the country, you're undemocratic. They're going to face a different situation right across the country.
You see, and that's it with Barajagio. Chase them out. You know, let them free up the country. So what he can do, take away your lunch money every day, your school lunch money every day, because that is what's happening. That is what's happening. This man is not giving anything to the Guyanese people. He's just taking. You guys are getting no tax relief. Nothing. Okay? This is what people have to change. And one people cannot change it. It will take all 6 ethnic groups across the board to come to an agreement, and once and for all, elect a proper government, a government that will govern for all Guyana. The PNC as a party, they need to open up the party a bit more. The PPPC has done none of that. That party is shut. That's a dictatorship. Forget about that. I'm going to speak on the coalition, which is in nature a democratic party. And leaders in the coalition need to watch and temper their behavior and remember that the party is democratic. So you can have somebody who is challenging you for leader, but you still need to incorporate that person, you know, and make sure that that person is getting ample duties and ample tasks within the party, just as if that person was not running against you. This is a situation now in the opposition where we need to put our egos to the side a bit and understand the big picture. You're representing the people here. This is not an individual representation. The people would have put you there to represent them. Okay? And we need to keep that in mind as we make decisions, to make sure when we make decisions that we are putting out the best candidates or whatever committees, you know, that they're going to be operating in, that we are putting out the very best people. Because the 2025 elections is not going to be a walk in the park. It is going to be a major challenge. And the opposition right now, they may think that they're in a good position, but I think that they are at the bad end of the stick right now with that Guyana Elections Commission that is not being addressed. Just now we're going to get to August, November, whatever it is that the elections is going to be in 2025, and nothing is going to be done. The infighting, Mark, needs to stop with immediate effect. I mean, immediately. There is a lot of work to be done. And people need to start getting focused. This is not a game. You're not going to just allow the Guyanese people to go there, do what's right, allow the elections to be rigged again, and continue to get their support. The Guyanese people also, they need to step up and they need to stop being, you know, stop showing this blind loyalty to people and make their vote count, show their value. If a leader is not performing, remove that leader. If a party is not performing, remove that party. You know, we need to start protesting more in Guyana, Mark.
All right.
You know, a lot of things that would have happened here in the US is because of protesting. That's the only way your voice can really be. Hard. That's the only
Protesting.
way you can let government know that they are wronging you.
Proactive politicians, brave politicians all across. You're looking for brave politicians. You're not looking for politicians who sit at press conferences or send out some press releases and think that that is good and tell you that all is well behind the scene. All is not well in Guyana. All is not well. The 214 plus or 250 plus persons who voted for the coalition, they need proper representation. Y'all will remember this day. Mr. Caesar, we have to go, but before that, I notice again, let me bring back in a comment, not from Golligad. Golligad says share the broadcast. Golligad expect us to stay. Like you don't know the earthquake shake up Wayne Caesar and your old family shake up Gavin Caesar. No, still can't even recover. Them is big strong men. They can't recover. Like tiny me can recover so quick. John C. Paul has a point here, and I agree with John again. Well, not again, I agree with John on this one here. John said, what has happened to the other two opposition nominated commissioners at GCOM? They need to call a press conference. People didn't put those three commissioners there to only have one write letters occasionally in the name of Vincent Alexander. They need to see all three of those commissioners. We haven't heard from the other two, Mr. Charles Corbin, in a long time. Is he still? He's getting paid. And you cannot get paid and then sit down and do nothing and then come to say that we do a lot of work behind the scene, and we give it to the leadership of the party. But if you do a lot of work behind the scenes and you give it to the leadership of the party, what then is the leadership of the party doing? Assuming that that's going to be their excuse. But we don't hear from, they haven't called a press conference in the longest time. We don't know what is happening at GCOM. They do not bring these things and highlight it and say to the opposition folks or the electorate, these are some shenanigans that's happening at GCOM we don't like. They got to force the hands of those people at GCOM. The fact that they're so silent shows weakness on the part of the opposition representatives here. Weakness. We're not hearing from Charles Corbin. We're not hearing from Desmond Trotman. And occasionally we get a couple of letters from Vincent Alexander. I am saying tonight, guys, that is insufficient. It is as though you're giving the people a blank check to go and cash in on elections day. When you give someone a blank check, you know what's going to happen? It's going to bounce. Do we want that blank check? Do we want that check to bounce? Or do we want to ensure that we fix whatever the problems are instead of waiting at the last minute? Because some in the opposition like to drag things off, throw it off to a particular period of time, and then find some excuse or excuses why it can't go so or why this can't happen. Wake up. Let's play sensible politics in the opposition, guys. We're not playing sensible politics. Mind you, this is my opinion. 1 minute for your closing remarks, Mr. Caesar.
It's going to take a little more than 1 minute, sir.
1.5 minutes, please.
More like 2.5 minutes.
No.
All right.
Go ahead, please, your closing remarks.
All right, Mark, I would like to say this. I have seen a lot of the press conferences from the opposition, and they seem to have a strategic plan and a vision as to how they want to run the country once they get into power. Well, I'm going to say this tonight. You cannot put the carriage before the horse. Okay? Let's pivot. And I would like to see a strategy and a vision to have the PPPC removed for us, because the PPPC must be removed for us in order for you to be able to run Guyana. I need to see an aggressive strategy, okay, to challenge the PPPC, hold their feet to the fire, and essentially remove them in 2025. I don't want to see anything right now on how you're going to govern the country, right? Because I feel like if that should be the focus, but at this point here, it's about the opposition dealing with GCOM and making sure that that apparatus is working properly. Challenging the PPPC, head up, head on, okay? We're not seeing that, and we need to see that more. And I'm going to say this, within the opposition, Mark, There are some selfish people within the opposition that are snakes. They need to figure out how to get those people out of the party, or, you know, out of the positions that they're in, because they're selfish. This is about representing your constituency. It is about representing the people of Guyana. It is not about yourself. Okay? So that needs to be clear. However they're going to do it, they need to do it, Mark. I feel like if the opposition, they need to come together as a collective unit and work out their differences, because there's a mightier challenge ahead for them. And in order for them to be able to conquer that beast called the PPPC, they all have to be aligned as one. Together, they're stronger. Divided, they're definitely going to fall because they are at a disadvantage. The PPPC is now sitting in government. They were able to rig an election in 2020, and they were not even sitting in government. They seem to have control of GCOM. They have control of the judiciary. Okay, they have control of the legislative branch, and they also have control of the executive branch in Guyana. Okay, Mark, and they have control of all the oil money, all the resources. So they have everything that it takes to stay right where they are. Hence the reason the opposition have to work triple overtime to be able to remove this government. Aubrey Norton, to you, I say to you and your team, you guys have to have some sleepless nights in order to accomplish this. Over to you, Mark. I want to thank all our listeners tonight for joining. I'll see you guys tomorrow on my show. Over to you. Mark, over to you, sir.
5 o'clock, Mr. Caesar, tomorrow. Over to you. And I'll let the listeners know that sometimes you call me at 2 minutes to 5, telling me that you're in review on command. I'm telling the people, you best be set for tomorrow. More needs to be done. The bad blood needs to boil down a little, because everybody can go in the trenches and everybody can pull their gloves out and ready to fight each other in the opposition. Is that beneficial for the supporters of the opposition? No. Is that beneficial? No, it's not beneficial. And at the end of the day, no one wins. You did mention that the PPP regime got control of this and they got control. They're allowed, because if you have a strong and a robust opposition, they wouldn't feel as comfortable as they're feeling now. They wouldn't. They wouldn't feel as comfortable as they're feeling now in GCOM. They wouldn't feel as comfortable as they're feeling stealing the oil wealth. They wouldn't feel comfortable. They wouldn't feel comfortable grabbing people's lands, taking away people's lands and all manner of stuff. They wouldn't feel comfortable bulldozing people's places like what they've done to those folks in Mocha Arcadia. They wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. But one thing they don't have control of, they do not have control of the masses. And when the masses turn against you as a regime, game is over. Are we there as yet? No, because people are not as inspired as they ought to be. They're not as motivated as they ought to be. But everybody is complaining that the government is corrupt. Everyone, including PPP supporters. Wayne, I'll be watching your program tomorrow at 5.
Mark, I want to say one thing, please. 30 seconds.
No, we've got to go. We've got
one thing I want to say.
Whatever you're going to say, you'll say tomorrow. We've got to go. We've got to go.
No, just 30 seconds.
We've got to
go. I was watching a few comments from Francine Cruz, right? And what she's saying, Mark, is that you cannot go to Guyana, that I cannot go to Guyana. I want to say one thing to the Guyanese people. You guys clear the coast and you guys stand up and we'll be there. I promise you guys that.
Thank you. Deal with Francine Cruz. You could mention that tomorrow, because
she can, and ask her to turn on her cameras and come on with me tomorrow.
That's okay. That's okay. I know Francine Cruz hurt you with that. I didn't see her comment. Francine Cruz, my friend, 90. How old is Francine? 93, 94. Always ready and abuse out all over Francine, abusing out, and But thank you so much, Mr. Caesar. Thank you to all of our listeners as well. I appreciate your time, and let democracy work in the opposition. Allow people the opportunity to make their choice. It doesn't matter. And the choices are good. But at the end of the day, when the people decide on the way forward, then that ought to be embraced, as long as it's a good card that it's cut. That's all I wish to say. But for now, I just have to smile. See you, Wayne, tomorrow at 5 o'clock, same place, same time. Thank you, sir. And all of you guys, we're out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. Well, not we, but Wayne will be back tomorrow. Same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM. The People's Station. The People's Station. I'm out of here. There's so much more that I want to talk. So much more. If I tell you guys that I'm disappointed in the lack of energy on the part of the opposition, I'd be lying. Lack of energy. It's unfortunate, but we can't accept that. We can't just say it's unfortunate. We just can't accept that. I'm out of here, guys. I'm out of here. Have a good night and have a safe weekend, all of you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata, Francis C. Vietnam, and since 1965, I become a voter. And I always place my X next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Some who up shouting for teeth, some all out call police, some ask what happened to we, oh, the art drama. Some jump out the car and run, now things start tumbling down. It's only now I could make little fun, oh, the art drama. See me shaking, hear me rumbling. See the numbering, winter's rocking, Mother Nature, giving a demonstration of the power of Jah, control the situation. Let's go back and eat and the blood of the country, oh, the king and I rasta tell of all and regret. A preacher man shout the judgment. Them say we got enough punishment. Oh, the earth tremor. Some Christ was coming again. See them hustling was say a prayer. Looking for the angels to appear. Oh, the earth tremor. See me shaking. Hear me rumbling. See me tumbling, winter's rocking, Mother Nature, giving
Hello, Mr. President. Oh, you feel like for buy them the model plane, the man? You see people's buy them thing. Them things already, man. Transport food and passenger around Guyana. My lord. You're the shame bad for buy something like that. Them model thing of buying from India. My lord. Best you been buy 4 or 5 Apache helicopters with no we could see weapons strap on. Damn thing that you buy, man. Lord, I ain't got shame in your face, man. Right, was a politician don't got shame, though, no. Or they don't care. They just do what you know what they feel like. But watch them playing. Watch how them thing look. Them thing, Me with design, me long, me not see a country with design playing like that since in the, I say in the 18 or in the 18 something. And the First World War like then and the plane that went like, man, this is something like that, like. And even to that, the Second World War, them playing like, even to that, you don't see them. My Lord, President. You should have shamed me or shame me as a president for going to stand up near a plane like that, you know. To say, hey, we buy something for Guyana, to defend them country, or help secure them border. Oh my God, Lord, have mercy upon the people in Guyana with them thing that could do anything. Oh my God, look how that thing look. What the design. I mean, young people must be proud, get rid of that thing out of the heap of them had them, man. They got to be from a rubbish heap. You know, shame, like, man, me the shame, the government may be shame bad for buy something like that, man. And then got to come and highlight it in your country and say, hey, you buy military plane for show that you buy. Oh my God, that thing look real outdated, Mr. President. You should have shame, that thing look, oh my God. Me would have never buy nothing like that for show me country as a president. Show that you better buy something proper. Even if I could have got F buy 1 F-16 or 4 F-16 with about 4 Apache helicopter, I would have feel more better. At least I get 8. 4 F-16 and 4 Apache helicopter. Yes, I would have feel proud, like, Because I don't know a weapon and thing could strap on them. They got nice radar. Oh my God, look how them thing look. Them thing look like them normal passenger plane where I drug people here. From Northwest to Georgetown, man. Oh, my Lord, President. I ain't ashamed for sure have them thing to the world or to Guyanese. Venezuela must be laughing at you when they see them whole thing that they must say, oh my God, that is what Guyana buy them, man. The guy who come out of India rubbish. Me the shame bad though.